Come on, baby. Come on. I'm on, aren't I? I thought I hit the countdown. Usually I have the countdown. I'm going to wait a little bit before I get started. So forgive the clunky. I thought no, I didn't hit the countdown. I started the stream. So good morning. Welcome. It's great to have you along. That's the worst beginning to the fourth hour that I've had here. And I've been pretty good lately, being able to hit the right buttons. So, David, don't tell me that 54 in California today. And it's going to be, this weekend's going to be cold. It's, not too bad this morning, 9, 2 below. That's, I can weather that, but it's going to be a little bit colder as we head into the weekend. Worst weather, I think, is going to be on Saturday coming up. Anyway, great to have you along. Steve, what are you up to this morning? Watching Dick Durbin ramble on about something or other that Kash Patel did or will do. I couldn't quite follow. And then he says, surprise. Yeah. What a big shock. All right, let's get rolling because I do have some news here ready for you to go. Donald Trump and again, I'm sorry for the clunky open. Donald Trump speaking at the National Prayer Breakfast, NBC News. So he was, and he spoke for quite a while. I had it on Fox News this morning and watching a part of this. Donald Trump announced a plan to create a Freedom of Religion Commission and a task force to address anti-Christian bias. I know this is going to drive some people crazy, and Trump announcing this, he's saying it's going to be a very big deal, which will work tirelessly to uphold this most fundamental right. Unfortunately, in recent years, we've seen this sacred liberty threatened like never before in American history. So he's going to have the new Attorney General take a look at it, lead a task force, and he said their mission will be to immediately halt all forms of anti-Christian targeting and discrimination within the federal government. Who's going to be left in the federal government? I mean, who's going to be left actually working in the federal government if you take that kind of approach? He said, including at DOJ, which was absolutely terrible, the IRS, the FBI, terrible, and other agencies. In addition, the task force will work to fully prosecute anti-Christian violence and vandalism in our society and to move heaven and earth to defend the rights of Christians and religious believers nationwide. This is going to be huge. I can almost bet that we'll be talking about this tomorrow during the Greg Belfrage show. That is just huge. By the way, coming up tomorrow on the Greg Belfrage show, Sioux Falls Police Chief John Toom will join us. There have been some things that I really like the chief. I have a lot of respect for our chief of police, John Toom. So he will join me coming up tomorrow morning just after 8. So listen for him tomorrow at 8:05. Let's see what else is going on here. I thought this was interesting. I did just at least a bit of a quick rundown. And this is what Steve was just talking about. The Senate Judiciary Committee postponing a vote on Kash Patel's nomination to next week. So they'll vote on it. They're delaying the vote by a week. Only one such delay is allowed. So committee Democrats are planning to hold a press conference. Oh, joy. Another Democrat press conference. Oh, yeah, because those have really just made such an impression on me, really changed my mind over the course of the last week. We were talking about that yesterday. I was showing you the lunacy that was going on at the Democrat news conferences. I guess, grab your popcorn, get ready to have a laugh. This is also new within the last hour or so. Pete Hegseth and the president of Panama agreed to expand cooperation between the U.S. military and Panama security forces amid threats to take back the Panama Canal. Now, again, Donald Trump talks tough talk. I think Donald Trump, in this case, has been shooting high with the anticipation then that we'll accept less. So I want something, bigger. Well, this is interesting what Alex is saying. Another announcement to pretend that Christians are a victim in the U.S., while South Dakota is trying to indoctrinate our kids with the 10 Commandments. Interesting. That to me is a little bit laughable because, Alex, I wonder how much you know about the Founding Fathers and where they were pulling, where a lot of that material came from, and the Bill of Rights, and where a lot of this, it's amazing where Americans are at today versus where the founders of the country were at. I mean, we have made quite a move. All right, I'm going to keep my eye on the ball here rather than getting too wrapped up in comments this morning on YouTube, because there's some other news that I want to make sure that I share with you. Donald Trump also this morning was sharing this, calling for an overhaul of the air traffic control system during the prayer breakfast today. So he's going to talk to congressional leaders about legislation to do this. What did he say in particular? The tragedy last week should remind us all that we have to, he's talking about what happened at Ronald Reagan Airport. He said, should remind us that we have to make the most out of every single day we have. We should have had better equipment. They were understaffed for whatever reason. I guess the helicopter was high. We'll find out exactly what happened. I think that's going to be used for good. We're going to do a great computerized system for our control towers, brand new, not pierced together, obsolete. We spent billions and billions of dollars trying to renovate an old broken system, instead of just saying, let's cut it loose and let's spend less money and build a great system. So we'll see where that goes. So Donald Trump also mentioned that today during the prayer breakfast. Okay. Also, this is great. I love this. Sean Duffy had an announcement about Doge. And so Sean Duffy is the new transportation secretary. While we're talking about air traffic control and the air traffic control system, Duffy said, big news, talk to the Doge team. They're going to plug in to help upgrade our aviation system. So Hillary Clinton then says they have no relevant experience. Most of them aren't old enough to rent a car. And you're going to let them mess with airline safety that's already deteriorated on your watch? On your watch, okay? Sean Duffy has been what? He was just confirmed. The guy was just confirmed literally the day before that accident at Reagan Airport. So you've seen this on your watch versus all of the absolute crud and crap that we have seen on Hillary Clinton's watch. I mean, give me a break. So then Duffy responds and says, Madam Secretary, with all due respect, experienced Washington bureaucrats are the reason our nation's infrastructure is crumbling. You need to sit this one out. Yes, go Sean Duffy. I absolutely love when these guys fire back. Okay, there are a number of stories that I want to share with you this morning. We'll talk about USAID in a moment because there's some interesting stories involving them. More than 40,000 government workers have agreed to take the buyout. The deadline approaching tonight, Today is the deadline that government workers have then to accept the buyout or remain in their jobs and then potentially get fired, right? So you can either take the buyout and then you will get paid for what, like 8 months? You'll get paid through the end of the fiscal year. So you'll continue to receive pay, but you just don't show up to the job. So you got 8 months to find another line of work. Or you can not take the buyout. You can take your chances, roll the dice, and see if you wind up being laid off anyway. So millions have received that offer. More than 40,000 federal employees had accepted the buyout as of last night, according to a source. So it's not clear how many of the federal government's 2.3 million civilian employees will accept the offer to pay their salaries through October if they resign by today. So they still have got some time yet. And there's some carping and complaining, and we'll see where it goes from there. But that's where it stands as of right now. Also, following up on this, let's go to Breitbart News. Too much winning. You've got non-governmental organizations. They're called NGOs, okay? NGOs shuttering their migrant shelters. Get a load of this, what Breitbart is saying. They are feeling the impact as illegal entries continue to dwindle across the southwest border after the actions that Donald Trump has taken. Nonprofit organizations that received hundreds of millions of dollars from the federal government under the Biden administration began to close their doors. Oh, no, the left is going to be screeching about this. So the shelters that once counted on a steady flow of cash from FEMA, that's where the money was coming from, closing their doors now as a result of this. So you want to read more on that story, take a look at Breitbart. Arizona shelters, one that housed 650 migrants and another that provided services to more than 100, had been in operation for several years during, isn't it interesting how these just flourished during the Biden-Harris administration? And now under Trump, drying up. The money is drying up. They're having to close their doors, and it's just absolutely incredible. Alex, I'm going to ask you to take your conversations elsewhere, brother. Let's move on. So this is from the New York Post as we talk about what's going on with USAID. And there is a USAID employee who is showing what's wrong, according to the New York Post. So this story goes on, getting into it. Okay, this is I'm trying to see where to jump in on this. Okay, he was tasked with supporting USAID programs protecting the human rights of lesbian, gay, bisexual, transgender, queer, and intersex individuals around the globe, doing it globally. This is what USAID was doing. So protecting the human rights of lesbian, gay, bisexual, transgender, queer, intersex individuals throughout the globe. And there was a blog post by USAID talking about the work they were doing in Bangladesh, adding a third gender option in its 2021 national census, supporting gender-affirming healthcare in South Africa. This is what USAID was doing. And this just goes on. So you want more details on this story, I found it. This is at the New York Post. And this goes on. So they're saying social media posts suggested that he continued these activities under the USAID award. And the Post asks, why would American tax dollars be spent on such programs? You may have seen, I know it's been especially the talk on social media, talk about a transgender comic book in Peru and an opera in Colombia, to millions of dollars for sex changes and LGBT advocacy from Guatemala to the Balkans. See, this stuff is just absolutely crazy. Outlandish is the word that they use. Who is it that's writing this piece? I want to double check this. Who's written it? Benjamin Weingarten has written this piece at the New York Post, and it is just absolutely. You take a look at all of these things that they have been spending their money on, and it's absolutely crazy. So let's go to justthenews.com. Before it shuttered, USAID routed funds to George Soros-aligned causes, terrorists, and drag queens. So the amount of, and again, these are taxpayer dollars. The USAID is what the Democrats are out there shouting about, and as I showed you yesterday during the fourth hour. So before the Trump administration, and again, he did not close the doors of USAID. I think just that's not quite it. But they let a lot of people go. Marco Rubio was talking about there's some good things that USAID had been doing, so they're going to take a look at it. But so the agency came under scrutiny. Recent days, the Trump administration identified programs ranging from contraceptives for Afghanistan to LGBT diversity programs for European countries. Clear evidence that foreign aid needed to be paused and reevaluated. Yeah, no kidding. For example, U.S. government spending records show that the East-West Management Institute, which is in part backed by George Soros, Open Society Foundations, received more than $260 million over the years in grants from USAID to, among other things, promote the rule of law in Georgia, strengthen civil society in Uganda, and advance Serbia's accession talks with the European Union. Why are we spending money to help Serbia in their talks with the European Union? I mean, this stuff is just absolutely crazy. So that story is at justthenews.com. There was one other one that I thought might interest a number of you. Those of you who are on TikTok, some of you are. I am not, but I know a number of you are. TikTok may let the app go dark instead of selling it to an American buyer, according to a report. Washington Post says that it may not be sold to an American buyer. ByteDance may choose to let the platform go dark. So Donald Trump had given them a 75-day extension, and I would not be surprised, because I think that shows how much involvement China has in TikTok, because they would rather that the app just go dark in the United States rather than sell the thing. And to me, that says something. It says something to me, because there have been a number of buyers who have been chomping at the bit to buy TikTok and keep it open, keep it available to Americans, do away with the algorithm that powers TikTok in favor, but to do away with the algorithm, but keep TikTok up and running and operational in the United States. If that's true, what the Washington Post is saying, it certainly appears then that China would just rather let the app close and die on the vine. So we'll see where it goes from there. So that's a quick look at what's going on today. I want to ask you to please hit the like button before you leave. I appreciate having you on board. My thanks for being here. So long until tomorrow, my friends, and take care. Have a great Thursday.